Hello, Peter.
Kathleen, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Hi, Jacqueline. Awesome. I just finished going through what everyone submitted. Peter, I saw your mission statement. I thought it was very good. It's very clear. It's probably one of the clearest out of the whole group, actually.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That was very exciting.
No, it looks great. Oh, hi, Caroline. Oh, I'm so glad people showed up. Some other mentors told me that no participants showed up for the Q&A session, so I was kind of expecting no one to show up. But I'm really glad you all did it. We're the best group.
Punished anyway, but I thought I'd bite the bullet.
Oh, no, cool. I'm glad you guys made it. All right, awesome. Well, we might as well get started and we can go through, look, let's start with some questions so that I can answer any questions that you guys might have. And then if we have time, I can go through a couple of your things that you submitted as examples with some feedback that I have. Otherwise, I'll just send you each a private voice note. So if you'd rather I don't go through your your presentation or your stuff publicly, then that's also okay. But let's start off just with some questions, if there are any questions that you guys have. Jacqueline, why don't we start with you? Is there anything that's come up this week that you're just like not sure about, that you're, wanting some extra answers on or some input on right now? Oh, do I need to unmute you? Oh, you got it.
Sorry, who are you asking?
Jacqueline.
Oh, me. Oh,
yeah.
hi.
You.
Oh, this is so hard. I feel really bad, especially having been an A student before in my life. and I am struggling, but I think there's been a lot of stuff going on that's been pulling me in different directions because I have a sister with learning difficulties, so I've had to be dealing with stuff in hospital with her. So but the thing is, I know your classes are really punch-packed, and I think after yesterday, I just sat there and I just thought I'd been in a wave. And I was thinking this morning about Wink and Grow Rich, about the story when he was asking all the questions. And I thought, how can I be a better plumber? How can I be a better gardener? What I need to do. I have questions for myself. And I think one thing I have to do is do this calendar thing where I have to block out. I do a to-do list, and I know I have to stop doing that because it's not actually productive. So, so really, I actually started working on my avatar. my P's and stuff, I'm that far behind. So I don't really have a question. I think I'm someone who takes a lot of stuff in, and then when I get it all out, and then I start mapping where my questions are. So I'll probably email you at some point.
Yeah, that sounds great. No, that's all good. What profile are you, Jacqueline?
I'm a mechanic.
You're a mechanic. Okay, got it. Yeah, totally makes sense. You're synthesizing information. There's definitely a lot that you've got over the last 4 weeks. So synthesize away and feel free to email me. What I will say in reflection to your statement about a to-do list, yeah, I was a to-do list person as well before, but definitely a to-do schedule is a lot more reliable and efficient, right? But all good. That sounds great. Thanks, Jacqueline. I hope this has been helpful in any case. Oh, hi, Bob. I see you've just joined as well. Okay, cool. Well, let's come across Peter. Let's come across to you. Do you have any questions or things outstanding, thoughts that you're looking for feedback on right now?
Yeah, I guess the main thing I've been learning as I'm going through this is, I guess between development and learning, because I tend to, with my personality, tend to learn a lot without putting a lot into action first. Like I like to know that it all works first before I start. So I think the good thing about doing the milestones is it really shows up when you go through it. You go, oh, there's a lot of learning here, but how am I ever going to reach my profit goals if that's all I'm doing without ever taking it into action? So it's really, I guess, provide a lot of clarity for me. And as you said, around mission statements and things like that, the whole process, working out the avatar, all those kind of things has been really, really helpful. So that's been really good.
That's great. And do you have any questions or things that are outstanding right now?
I'm probably a bit further too far down the track to what I really need. But one of the things that was going through was once you get started in terms of bringing on a bigger team and working with a remote team, do you find it's just as easy to work with people in a different area, or is it better to go local to start with? Yeah,
that's a really good question. It's interesting. My experience has been such that up till this point, I've only worked with people who are very far away. Some things to consider though, when you're working with, I do think that if you have the possibility of working with people that are closer or at least in the same country as you, that can be really positive in the sense that you have like a shared cultural understanding. You probably have like shared value systems in some ways. It's likely that you share the language, which is really important. So that's one benefit to hiring close to home, even if you're doing it online and remotely. But on the other hand, if you're looking for, you can definitely maximize or take advantage of different standards for salaries. So if you're looking to hire that's a bit more cost efficient, there are some amazing people all throughout Southeast Asia, the Philippines, who are remote working, who cost half the amount of a salary of someone in New Zealand or Australia, probably even less than that, because I know New Zealand and Australia have pretty high salary laws. So that would be my recommendation, to consider all of those things. And I think that the key thing when you're hiring, if you're not meeting someone in person, which you probably won't be for hiring a remote team, is to really take advantage of the interviewing and onboarding process. So really having like a rigorous interview process, having something that's allowing them to like understand your company culture, making sure that you have like a plan for how what your standards are in terms of what you need from them, so that you're really, really clear on expectations even before going into an agreement. But yeah, I think there are benefits to both for sure.
Got you. And are the resources within the community? Because I must admit, I haven't really had a chance to go around the community a lot. I've kind of really gone deep into what I've been doing. And I guess just in terms of finding resources in the community as well, have you got any tips, I guess, the best way to find the best people to reach out to?
Yeah, definitely. Within the community, there's for sure a lot of amazing resource. I would say there is I think in the case of particularly, I think Entrepreneur Summer School has brought a lot of new people into the community, and you're seeing even now, like in this course, right, there's people who are doing remote work and wanting to get involved in other people's businesses and stuff. So the first place that I always would post or make a post about it is in the GEM Facebook group, because that's where most of the activity is. So the Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind Facebook group, when you post in there, a lot of people get involved and tend to respond. The other option as well is to actually speak to your facilitator or one of the team leads to say like, look, I'm actually looking for someone like this in my business. Do you know anyone you would recommend? So definitely going through the conversational route with people who are well connected in the community will also help you find people quickly, I think.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Andy. Cool. All right. Peter, let's come across to you. I see you're conveniently unmuted. So do you have any questions or anything that you would like to go over just now?
That was just me you were talking to.
That was you. Oh my gosh. Why did I think I was looking at Andy's name as I finished talking to you. Andy, you just arrived. You were also unmuted.
Andy's got a great voice, funny. By the way. He's awesome. Hi, listen to Andy.
Sorry, Peter. Oh my goodness.
Good.
A bit of a brain fog this morning. As you can tell, I'm in a different space too. I had to leave my apartment because our internet just went out and they haven't come to fix it. So anyway, lots of brain fog. Thanks, Peter. All right, over to you, Andy. Any questions that are coming up for you or things that you would like input on right now?
Yeah, I was just had the one question is to do with contacting people remotely, particularly global brands. What would be the best place, or how would be the best way to do that? Would it be through LinkedIn, or any advice on how to connect to people like your avatar? I mean, most of mine are overseas, they're not in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Any advice on how to connect to people remotely?
Yeah, definitely. There's the two ways that I would do it. One way is I think LinkedIn is great. I think a lot of people are really active on LinkedIn now, especially. So LinkedIn can be a really good way to get in touch with people. I think with LinkedIn, the danger always is, what I've seen more on my LinkedIn profile is people reaching out to me with like cold pitches, which I'm just like not interested in at all. So definitely like the way that you craft that messaging is going to be really important, but people will respond on LinkedIn generally. So I've had really good success reaching out to people just to build connections and network on LinkedIn, just by saying who I am and why I'm interested in what they do. And so similarly for you, being able to say like, hey, look, loving this project you're working on, like would love to get in touch. I'm Andy and I do this. So rather than, there's no like, I wanted to have a conversation with you to see if we could work together. Instead, it's just like, let's get connected. I really love what you're doing. And then once you're connected, then you can follow up with, hey, I'd really love to like hop on a call and just see how I can support you on the projects that you're working on. Or, find out how you did such and such. So just being interested in someone that way.
What sort of time frame are we talking here with the initial connection? I've connected with quite a few very interesting people lately. I've only got about, 10 10 or 12 connections so far on LinkedIn, but I mean, before the summer school, I had one. That was my brother. So I think I'm doing pretty well. That will blossom into about 50 or something in the next month or so, because that's one of my plans, is to start connecting more on LinkedIn when I've got more time. What sort of time frame, once you make that initial connection, what is a reasonable time frame? Obviously, you're going to be commenting, like Niraj says, comment on their posts, let them get to know you as either a brand or a person. What sort of time frame would be reasonable to make that connection when it starts turning into a commercial proposition, as opposed to love your work bros sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the second connection. So I think one thing that definitely is going to help you, if you've got less than 50 connections on LinkedIn right now, honestly, just search GeniusU and add anyone that has GeniusU in their name. Just do it, and you'll see how many people respond. But I think having credibility on LinkedIn is what I think Niraj teaches as well. But what I've found works for me really well is because I've got over 200, I think I've got over 300 connections now. People trust me. And I also have people who have verified my account. So people who have actually endorsed my skills. And that's why people are comfortable reaching out to me. There's probably something about gender in there as well, but I won't go into that piece of it. But I think for me, if you're reaching out and you're saying, would love to connect, and then they've added you as a connection on LinkedIn, pretty much almost, a week or so after, for me, I would just reach out and say, hey, loving the work that you're doing. This is how it relates to me. I would love to just get on a 30-minute call and find out what you're working on and how I might be able to help. And that's what I would say. So because I don't think that that's salesy. That's not, I'm looking to get on a call to pitch you. And then the conversation that you're having is very much actually curiosity about their project. How are they doing their marketing? And then find out what their biggest problem is. And maybe their biggest problem isn't the one that you're trying to solve, in which case maybe it's not a good fit. But if it is something that you're actually, I can help with that, then you could say, actually, look, this is what I do. I feel like if we put together something like this for you and craft and tailor a solution for them, that could potentially really boost your numbers by X amount. Is that something you'd be interested in talking about? At which case they say yes or no. And if they say, yeah, I'd be interested in talking about it, then you book a sales call. So it's kind of this conversation, you want to get them into getting to know you as fast as possible. So actually, once you've added them as a connection, I would say you can pretty much immediately after reach out and just say, hey, would love to hop on a call if you've got 15 minutes. I'd just love to get to know what you're working on, because that's not pressure. But then you're opting them into having another call with you to say, let's chat about, how we can work together off the back of this call, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. With the search system of GeniusU, if I put in GeniusU as part of my search for someone, will that pick up details of their CV or their about section? If someone has a deep interest in GeniusU, will that show up in the search results, or is it just if they've got it in the title?
Yeah, the reason I say it, let me share my screen and let's have a look on LinkedIn. So the reason I say it, and it might not even be GeniusU, it actually might be Entrepreneurs Institute, but we have all of the consultant community who are pretty engaged and active on LinkedIn and very well connected as well, because they manage businesses and they're consultants. But also what I've seen is generally within the network, if you've got GeniusU or Entrepreneurs Institute either in your experience section on your page, or because you've done this course, you could definitely add GeniusU in some way to your profile. For example, I think on mine, obviously I work for GeniusU, so it's very obvious. But for you, I've seen lots of consultants, and I'll do a quick search here so we can see how this works together. So I've got GeniusU in my experience section, but you could put GeniusU in your education section. You did the Entrepreneur Summer School. People who have got a flow consultant or another consultant level with GeniusU and Entrepreneurs Institute usually have that in licenses and certifications. So
just going back to that education part, what sort of response would you get? What would be the average response? Do most people know about GeniusU? If I put that in my education part, that I did the summer school, here's the things that I was doing, the remote thing, the LinkedIn thing, the speaker sales, all the rest of it. I don't know how to ask the question. I was going to say, is it credible? Is it worthy? Well, I personally think it's worthy to put in the education section.
Yeah, I think as many things as you can put in your profile that give you credibility, which is to say someone else has certified it, right? Like whether or not someone knows about GeniusU, if they say, oh, you did a LinkedIn course, you did, you know, a sales course, you did, okay, so you've obviously learned about this stuff, which means you must know something about it. Like I probably don't know the university you went to, but I still find it credible when you put it on your profile, right? Because it's like, it shows to me that I can then click into the university and say like, okay, are they credible? Have they done stuff? When people open the GeniusU webpage, they're like, oh, 1.2 million people on it. That must be pretty good, you know? So,
Exactly.
so I think definitely worth putting any education you've had, whether it's a small certification or an online one, all of the education you've had, any experience, any licenses you have should be on your LinkedIn profile.
Do we get some kind of certificate at the end of the summer school for my wall of awesomeness?
That's a very good question. I actually don't know the answer to that.
I've got a wall of awesomeness and there's limited spaces available.
Great, that's fantastic. But you see, look here, so I Googled GeniusU, or I LinkedIn searched GeniusU, and I've got like Jackie Stone, who she is a flow consultant, so she's shown up here, so I would probably message her. But the thing is, like, you know, if you connect with me on LinkedIn and then you connect with a couple of other mentors and stuff on LinkedIn who you've been working with through this course, then everyone becomes someone that you can potentially add. You'll see here there's people that it's asking me to message them. Oh no, this is my first connection, that's why I can message her. But in some instances, if I'm not a first connection with someone, it won't give me the option to connect with them. Or if I'm not I think it's second connection. So you have to be within the network of someone in order to add them on LinkedIn. So it's important that you start creating. Think about LinkedIn as this like big, vast network where you're connecting with someone who's connected with 3 other people you want to connect with. So definitely, like, all of you should be adding each other on LinkedIn after this call. You should all be adding me on LinkedIn, like, because then you have access to my network, I have access to your network, and that's how it kind of grows out. But that's why I say to start with like GeniusU or Entrepreneurs Institute, because these are people who, if you're connected with me or you're connected with other people in the GeniusU network, they're going to trust that you're a connection worth having. So they will connect with you, and then you kind of branch out in that direction, if you see what I mean. So LinkedIn is kind of this game of like, who do I need to know this other person? And so when I'm looking at someone and I'm like, wow, I really want to connect with this person, but they're like a few too many pieces out of my network, or they're not connected with someone I know, I go, okay, who do I know that would know them? And then I'll go and connect with that person, and I'll connect with the next person. So but now pretty much most of the people that I want to connect with online are within reach because I have a network wide enough that I can get in touch with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Any other questions on your side, Andy, right now?
No, I'm just bursting with happiness and joy.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Cool. I'm just making my way down my Zoom list, and I know other people have joined, and so I'm not necessarily going in order. But actually, Caroline, let's come over to you. I know you've been active on all the sessions. So Caroline, what's coming up for you in terms of questions or thoughts at this point?
I think you might have already answered this. I think I missed the end of what you were saying. With the Upwork and Fiverr and all that stuff, how do you know that they're going to do a decent job and that they're trustworthy?
Is this like the people that you're hiring on Upwork and Fiverr?
Well, I'm not hiring anyone yet because I don't even know how to do Google Slides or what I'm doing, but at some point, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Let me take you through. So on Upwork and Fiverr, I think freelancer networks are one good way of hiring people. The way that I have come to really enjoy hiring people, and this is kind of maybe only if you're active on like Facebook or LinkedIn, I will show you our Upwork and how I know someone's credible, just so you can see from a hiring perspective, like what I'm looking for when I hire someone. But my favorite way right now to get in touch with people that I should hire, and it's a bit more manual, is Facebook. And the reason for that is I have joined all of these remote work and digital nomad groups. So I will pull one up, which is my favorite because right now it has given me the most reliable freelancers. But so I'm part of a bunch of digital nomad communities. I literally just search digital nomads on Facebook and then I join all the groups. This is the digital nomad girls community. If you're a man, you won't be able to join, so this may not be for you. But if you are a small business owner or a solopreneur, I think Facebook groups can be a really good way to hire because you basically put up a post. For example, Stephanie here has said she's looking to connect and network with graphic designers. So she's not hiring anyone, but she's got 33 comments from different people who are then dropping their information for her to connect with them. For hiring, we have, there's pretty much like a couple posts a week in here. Also, if you're someone maybe like Bhavna who is looking to like freelance, you should be part of all these groups, because these are places that there are opportunities going up all the time. So this person looking for an amazing part-time VA that has experience building email marketing funnels, running social media accounts. People are tagging their friends, people are like posting their own information, they're sending an email. In these cases, when you're not using a freelancer site, you need to create essentially a hiring process. So best way to do this is to create a form of some sort where people can fill out their information, their LinkedIn profile, upload their resume to you so that you can then filter through it. It's a bit more of a manual process, but I find it's when I'm engaging with people this way and I'm getting people, you know, I think I have a list right now. I have a hot list of 40 different people who are potentials for our company to hire, because I have built a database based on posts that I've added here. And I've gone through and screened them, because when someone's like submitting their information through Facebook, they're submitting a LinkedIn profile, they're submitting a resume, they're submitting their personal website. So they're showing they have credibility. And I always ask for proof of past work. So I ask for, do you have testimonials from people that have worked with you? Do you have an example? You know, if it's a copywriter, for example, I'd be like, do you have an example of a few blog posts you can send me? So I get them to send me stuff. The nice thing about like Upwork or Fiverr is that it does it all for you. So I've just told you the more manual way to do it, but it's my preferred way to do it because I feel like I have more control over the kinds of people I'm getting. I think Upwork and Fiverr are a bit inundated right now, but this is our Upwork. And so when I'm looking for talent, I save people. So sometimes I come in here and browse. It's kind of like window shopping, but for people. But if I'm like, you know, I have a project coming up where I'm going to be working with someone, then I look for, you know, I'll just do a Google search. I think the most recent one I did was for like a quality assurance engineer, which is someone who works in tech. And they've got these amazing, you know, they're top rated, or they have 100% job success. And when you actually click into their profile, if I click into their profile, which is definitely going to work, maybe, might not work. Okay, for whatever reason, my computer's being difficult, but it shows usually, here we go. You know, it says they've got their description and then they've actually got their work history. So I can see here, someone has paid him nearly $100,000 to do this job for them. They didn't give him feedback, unfortunately, so I can't see what they said. But here, you know, if someone liked their work on Upwork, they'll rate them and then they'll leave a testimonial. So it's really, really easy to see that they've done work before and they're credible. And like, I usually won't work with someone that doesn't have 2 or more referrals or reviews from other people, because it just shows me that they're worth trusting, right? So that's what I would say to the like freelancer site question. It's quite quick to verify them because you can actually see all this stuff. But obviously the challenge with working with freelancer sites is usually there's a membership fee that you have to pay to join them. And you do still have to do the searching and stuff. And then Facebook and that kind of thing is also very manual, but I feel more in control. It might be an illusion. But that's what I would say about those 2 options.
So I've got 2 other questions.
Right.
One is on an opposite note, if I want to do some stuff, like I really like writing, because I don't think that I'm never going to be able to do my business unless I find an IPT person, because I can't do it. I hate it and I don't like it and I don't want to do it. And I can't do anything unless I like it. But I'm good at writing articles and content and stuff. So should I put that on, just like, instead of slapping it all over these sites, should I just, like, I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot. Should I just put it on there? And I don't even know how to set up a website. And to be honest, it gives me high blood pressure just thinking about it. So should I just use LinkedIn as the main thing for now?
Yeah, totally. Look, I would do what works for you, right? Like, I think as much as we can all build it, people have amazing personal brand sites online and it never gets so many clients. The biggest thing for you is, you know, like, you know, put your LinkedIn together, make it as easy for yourself as possible, and just reach out to people. Like, there's chances you already know folks that are either working in, you know, working in a small business, or they run their own business, people even in this community who are like, you know, running what they're doing, and maybe they don't want to have to write stuff. Maybe Andy doesn't want to have to write the show notes for the recordings he's doing, you know, in New Zealand, or, you know, Peter needs to write like some success stories on his amazing clients who now have had awesome success generating leads for their business. So there are people who have needs for things like a content writer. And if you just put it on your LinkedIn, and then if you just make it a point to reach out to people, like totally subvert the technology, ignore the technology and what has to happen there. Just make connections and be really good at like following up with people and just saying like, hey, is there someone else you can connect me to? Look, I'm trying, you know, I've got like 4 slots this month that I'm really wanting to like write some amazing stories for people, you know, write some blog posts for people, whatever. Like, you know, is there anyone that you know that I should talk to who's running a business that's growing it and looking for content creation? And then you can just be building your network that way and actually just get referrals and get people by word of mouth, which sounds a bit old fashioned, but actually is easier than ever now because you've got the internet. So you can call people across the world and, you know, be chatting to people, but don't stress out about the technology or be worried about the technology. If your priority is to like get a handful of clients for you to do writing with, then do that, you know, but do it by conversation instead of by building a website. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and related question, the thing I like more than writing is doing speaking stuff. And I did like a bit of speaking and podcasty stuff. And a couple of people, I think I've obviously made a giant boo-boo from what you were saying about how to connect with people, because I find that in the beginning, like someone told me ages ago, which I think you've all said, you know, don't just ask what people can do for you, look how you can solve their problem or what you can do for them. So a few people I found who I really want to work with, but the first message I've done is like, oh, you know, like you said, I really like blah, blah, blah. I like blah. But then I've always put in the first message, like, can I do some work for you, or could we work together? And then normally they either say yes and then nothing happens, or they just don't really answer. And like, because I've only done like, well, I've done 3 online talky things, which 2 of which I've got testimonials for on LinkedIn. But so is it like really no to say in the first message, like, can we do stuff together?
I think look, in some cases it works. I think the reason it most often doesn't work, for example, let's play this out. If I imagine I'm the person that you've reached out to, right? And I've got like a million things going on and you're like, can we work together? And I'm like, yes, okay, this girl has messaged me. She seems really awesome. I really want to work with her, but I've got to go do all this other stuff that's demanding my time right now. And then when I come back to it, I'm on my LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, Caroline sent me a message and I haven't responded yet. I got to get back to that. And then I go off and do all my other stuff that's important and forget about it again. Because at that point, you've become someone who wants my time. And there's not a clear return for me at this point, right? So I'm on LinkedIn and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm like, oh, damn it, Caroline, but what am I going to say to her? Because I'm having to put thought into how we're going to work together. Versus if you're like, hey, I'd love to get on a super quick chat just to find out what you're working on and see if I could support you. At which point, when you've had the conversation and you're saying, look, I can totally see like, you know, your marketing strategy is needing some support. I think I could write some amazing content for you. Look, what do you say we work together for the next 2 weeks? Can you
just slow down?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no worries. So, you know, if you've got on this call and you've had this conversation and you're able to then propose very specifically what you're going to do. So for example, you would say, I can see you've had challenges with your goal is obviously to get more clients. It looks like your marketing strategy could use some extra content. What do you say? I go away for the next 2 weeks, create 8 blocks of content for you, which I will then give to you and, you know, or post or whatever your process is. And that way, when you've finished that conversation, they're not thinking, oh, what am I going to tell her to do? You're saying, this is what I'm going to do for you. And this is how it's going to solve your problem, which takes away the stress of me putting time into thinking about it. Because as a business owner or someone who's running a project, I don't have time to think about all the tasks that I need to delegate to other people. But if you show up and solve my problem, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I want to work with Caroline. She's a go-getter. She's putting in the work. She understands what I need, and she's just going to go and do it for me, right?
Okay. So
and you could, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, for people that are thinking, oh, but how do I ask them to pay me for that?
Yeah.
There's two ways, right? One way is to say, look, I'll create two, well, you don't really want to put time into creating something if they're not going to pay you first. So you want to say, like, look, my standard package rate is I would do, and I'm totally making this up, so don't take this for, like, you know, law here, but I do 8 pieces of content for $50 each or whatever. So the total amount is going to be an amount that I can't calculate in my head that fast, $400. You know, so that's $400, but, you know, for you, because I really love what you're working on and I'd love to, like, make this happen for you, I'd be willing to do it at more like 350, you know, and we'll get it done in 2 weeks and then you can see the results. And obviously then you have to create the results for them. So don't promise something that you don't believe you can actually do. But at that point, you know, then you've got a yes or no as to whether they want to work with you. And if they then have objections like, oh, well, that's too high cost or whatever, your focus is not, you know, your focus isn't trying to then sell them on it. You're selling them on the result, right? So it's like, well, you know, is $400 or $800 worth another 1,000 people following your website or whatever the results are you're promising? And to get more on the sales stuff, definitely listen to some of the micro skills from last week. But, you know, that's when the sales conversation comes in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So can I just give you the 2 scenarios that I'm having problems with?
Yes.
So one was I did this online conference thing a couple of months ago, and during it, what Anthony Chadwick, who I know is on your circle, who's got a really good forum, messaged me and was like, hey, I've just seen your profile, would love to do a podcast. Would you like to do a podcast? And so I said yes. And he said, okay, contact this guy who historically I have not had great relations with. So I didn't initially, but then I did, because I didn't realize he was working for him, unfortunately, now. So I have to get through him to get to Anthony. And so I messaged Anthony and him and said, yes, I'd love to, nothing. And then suddenly the other guy messaged. And so then I watched, then I saw that they'd come out with a whole series of podcasts. And so I watched one of them and to kind of get an idea of what it was about. And I said, yeah, yes, I would like to do one. And then he messaged back and said, well, what do you want to do it about? And so now I'm like, oh, well, you asked me to do one. I thought you had an idea. And so I don't really know. And so I've kind of got an idea of what I want to do, but it's similar to what I'm already doing for someone else. So 2 questions, is that okay? Well, first question, is that okay? And then the other one was on the related note. One of the women on the podcasts, I watched her podcast and she had got in touch with me a few years ago when grim things were going on. She's doing this really good, it's called Well Vet. I'm a vet. Yeah, tell your sister she needs to change careers. Yeah, so I got in touch with her a few years ago about doing some mental healthy kind of stuff. And so part of her podcast she did was about this thing. So I didn't realize she's running this huge weekend. And so I messaged her and said, look, I've just watched your podcast. Like, I love this thing that you're doing. But then because I hadn't just watched your thing today, I said, could we do some work together? And she did reply and said, oh, great timing, like we're putting together this international thing next month and we could do a Zoom chat to talk about it. But then she said a Zoom chat to how we could help or something. And I said, well, okay, this is great timing. Yeah, I'd love to do the Zoom chat. And I said, well, you know, I was kind of asking, you know, how I could work with you because I'd love to be involved in the summit. And then nothing. So how much this seems to happen quite a lot. So obviously I'm not doing things right, but how much do you chase people without being harassing. Like, I haven't chased either of them, but I don't want to, like, I can't remember if it's you or I think it was Kyron was saying, you know, like, I don't want to be begging people.
Right. No, for sure. And I think part of this is like what it sounds like. And just before I go into it, Caroline, because I gathered you must be a vet because you're in that whole community. Can you tell me what, I don't think I ever got a mission statement from you. What do you do? What's your, like, if you were to put together just off the top of your head, tell me what you do and who you do it for.
Well, that's my thing. I don't really have one because I still don't really know what to do. I'm still trying to work it out with Chiron. So I've got some charity stuff that I do that I really like, but I can't really see how that's ever going to be a money maker because they've got no money. So I wanted to do the because so the online summit I did was when I really realized what I like doing. And basically they asked me to help organize the summit, but they needed a whole load of speakers. And because I've worked in a million places, I basically found them about 6 or 7 speakers who were very good and made them a shitload of money. I didn't get paid for any of that, which I didn't really mind because that was my first time doing it. So I wanted to try and do something like a kind of not like a recruitment agency, but like a finding speakers for gigs kind of thing. But also there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about as well. Like I've done a podcast and a couple of articles for a guy for vet and travel stuff. And then I'm doing some more similar stuff for him. So I would be one of the speakers.
What are the key areas that you speak on? Like if you were to
travel stuff and vet stuff, but I also want to branch out a bit, mainly because of what's happened in the last few years to like, and I don't know if your sister's aware of this, but like in the vet world, there's a lot of mental health issues. And
I think vets have like the second highest suicide rate against dentists, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really horrific, but that's got like skyrocketed with the recent situation because people haven't got jobs and are really financially hamstrung. And I've had a lot of like mental and physical nightmares that I thought I was going to drop dead from, but I haven't. And one of the things that Michelle Knowlton, the flow lady, was saying was one of the things you could do is like things that you've been through and things that have helped you and how you can help yourself. But with all of those, I'm not sure if I'm going to like run out of stuff because obviously we can't travel now.
Okay. I'm going to give my input, which is a couple of things, and probably feedback that you've heard from other people. And I'm going to answer your questions while I'm at it.
Sorry, everyone, for the long rant.
No. I think this is helpful for people to see. And one more question, which is what profile are you, Caroline?
Blaze supporter.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm all about people, and I can't do IT.
So. Yeah. So I'm a supporter profile. I totally get it. I thought I couldn't do IT either, and now I manage a tech company. So no, I totally get it. So look, the things I will say, and actually, maybe let's do this. I would love to get input from a couple of other people who have been listening on what they think for Caroline is the biggest block right now. What's Caroline's biggest block just based on what you've heard? Andy has unmuted. Andy, go ahead. What would you share?
Too many
Self-belief.
ideas.
Self-belief. Andy said self-belief. Caroline thinks she's got too many ideas.
No, ideas are good, but it's self-belief is what's going to pull it off. If you believe that you can do something, you can go out there and grab it by the short and curlies and go for it. I mean, just hearing the vet thing and the travel, why not call a podcast or some kind of video show on YouTube, The Traveling Vet? You might not be able to physically travel, but if you've been around the world doing vetty stuff, people are interested in that stuff. And instead of putting everyone else's name on the list for speaking, put your own bloody name on the list.
Thanks, Andy. That's great input. And Caroline, before you respond, I'm going to get a couple more people's input, and we can go into your objections afterwards, but I think just listening for a moment is going to be helpful. All right, Peter, what would you say is Caroline's biggest block right now?
I think you sound awesome, by the way, Caroline.
Yeah, right?
I could be completely way off track here, and I'm only just asking this from personal experience. Caroline, what's your mindset around money in terms of making it?
Oh my gosh, Caroline has a face. Hi, Caroline.
Sorry.
I haven't seen you yet this week.
But that was okay. Yeah, disaster. I'm not making any money at all at the moment because I had to leave my job because I got injured, which is why I'm on this course, because I don't really know what the hell to do because I can't do vet work at the moment. So I always end up doing stuff for people because I like helping people. I always end up doing stuff and not getting paid for it and then getting really angry.
Yeah, so do you
I
believe
don't know
you
how
deserve
to
to get paid for it? Yeah.
I don't really know how to do that.
Okay. Before we go any deeper on that, thank you, Peter. That was very helpful. Jacqueline, what do you think? And I'm calling on people who have their videos on. So if you want to give input, please turn your video on. Otherwise, I won't call on you.
Caroline, I'm with you, although I'm not a vet, but your sentiments I completely share, and I'm in the same boat as you. But listening to you, it's really quite heartwarming. You know, you're not the only person who's going through this. That's one thing you should know. You're not alone in this situation. But I'm just wondering, with the experiences you have, and you like helping people, the issues that you're going through, and how whether you can pull on that side as well, bring in that mental health side, what can be supportive, because there'll be people who still want to be a vet and still going through the issues. And obviously you can probably do something how you can protect yourself, even with your injury, whether that was something through your job, whether you can advise people how to protect themselves physically as well from getting injuries, but also the stress that you've gone through that's made you leave your job. You can actually pre-warn people and support them through that process of what, you know, not to put them off, but how they can be supported because you've been it and you've done it and you've lived it. And that might help lift you to be able to help them, because being a vet is an admirable role. I love watching the programs. I think it's amazing. You know, we see it all glossy on this side and think, oh, wow, and babies born and oh, the calf, and it looks wonderful. And I'm sure you had a real deep love for it. That's why you got into it. And it's, you know, otherwise it's something you have to do to be caring for animals as well. So probably you can pull on that side and bring support and light and positivity to somebody who's doing it, and say, these are the areas you may find you'll be suffering with, and look for sort of coping mechanisms to help them so they can continue that role. And I think probably that might help you search for that support network for them and supporting mechanisms. And even if it's courses where you can work out something that they can do some sort of interaction with you and talk through it, and then you can look for solutions that they can work with and come back to you. That's what just comes to me.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That's great input.
Yeah.
And I think, so Caroline, there's twofold things happening, right? On the one hand, like, you need to be earning money, because without earning money, you're feeling stressed, and it's like, then it puts this stress and this energy behind everything that you're doing that is like, I just need to be earning right now, right? And that like is not helpful for you, because it doesn't give you the freedom to be in your genius, which is to be connecting with people. It doesn't give you the freedom to be doing what you're doing there. So I think this is twofold. On the one hand, like, priority needs to be what's going to be earning you money, so that you have a stable income and that you're just good on that front, so that you have the room to do the creative, the focusing on one idea to actually carry it forward to fruition. I'm also a supporter profile. I totally get it. And I, like, 3 years ago was like, oh my God, I have all these projects I want to do, and none of them are going to make me money, because I just want to help people, and helping people won't make me money because people aren't going to pay me for it. And why would they believe what I have to say anyway? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. First of all,
where I am.
Yeah, I totally get it. I totally understand it. And the thing, it was only probably this year. So the key thing is finding work that is going to both build your confidence in yourself, because you'll be earning money, you'll be doing something that gives you, you know, the money that you need, but also puts you in a position where you can still be meeting others and like being in your genius type. And on the other hand, building your own credibility, which supporters do very, very well, because credibility is just trust, and trust is just built through people, and people is your absolute genius, Sam. Okay. So all of this is recorded, and I might start talking fast, because when I get excited, that's what I do. Right. But like I will make sure that you get this recording personally, as well as it being online. So this will get emailed to you, because I think that this is going to be potentially really valuable. Yeah. So look, I think on the earning side, it sounds like, you know, there's potential for like writing and stuff like that could just be earning you money, or like even like, you know, team coordination, team support in some way. And I for sure think that like through through the webinar vet or through one of these conferences, you can have a conversation with them. I think you need to get clear on how you're going to add value. So right now you've got like 8 or 9 different things, but if you said, okay, look, to earn money, I'm going to do this one thing, or I'm going to do these 2 things. I'll let you have 2 of them, but only 2, right? Which is that I'm going to help you coordinate an event, or I'm going to like write content for you based on the speakers. That way it gets you really clear, okay, now I need to go find people that are running events or that have a community that needs like content, and you're just going to talk to people based on that, and you're going to find a way to earn doing that. The other side of it is, I think, building your credibility. Like, it's very, very clear to me that your future or focus is in the vet space still, because it's where you've dedicated so much of your life, you know so much about it, you're so well connected, but it's in mental health for vets. I don't think it's in like, you know, I think it's clear to me that your own personal story, which is your biggest asset, like you've got this story and this journey that you can relate to people on. The reason that I talk to people about remote work is because I've done it. And because I went through the struggles, and I can relate to you, and I can relate to the people on this call who are like, how am I going to earn while traveling or while having the freedom in my life that I want? I get that story. That's my story, right? In the same way as for you, like mental health and vet work, and actually like being able to be critical of the industry and support the people in it, and like do, you know, the best for the humans in the vet industry, because no one talks about them. We all just talk about the animals, right? That's where you can add a lot of value and shine. And it sounds like you've already been doing speaking on that. You started to build your credibility. All you need right now is your LinkedIn profile. Don't worry about the other tech. Someone one day will build you a website. Don't worry about that yet. But like for now, like you can already be, I think you have to do this on the side of earning. You need to prioritize earning the money first. And then I think this project is really like your love and your future business project, which is actually like, you know, speaking at conferences, speaking on podcasts about mental health for vets. Come up with a couple of keynote talks that you'll do and absolutely reuse them over and over again. Like I've been doing this one remote work talk at like 3 or 4 different conferences. And probably, you know, each season I will change my talk. So like, usually conference season, you do it for one conference season and then you change your talk. You might have a couple of variations on the same talk for different uses, but have one key message, right, that you're focusing on for the year, so that you're not trying to come up with a bunch of others, unless someone particularly asks you to focus on something. But you can then go to people, if you already know you're going to be an authority on mental health for vets, be an authority on mental health for vets, right? Like go and speak to people specifically about that, meet other people in that in that space of the industry. And whenever you apply to a conference or a talk, say, yeah, I specialize in mental health for vets. Just try it out for size. You know, you don't need to be a licensed like therapist to do that. You just, you have a story, right? That is totally relevant. So those are the 2 key pieces. I think like focus on the earning money, but then get focused on like what you're doing to build your credibility. And that is showing up, being on podcasts, talking to people. And for sure, when you have the time and space and income, even starting your own podcast or YouTube series, because I don't know if there's one out there right now for vets. It's really outside of my industry, but I think that, you know, that's then like, you know, for me, I wanted to build credibility around people who were making an impact in the world while also working their dream job. So I started a podcast, and now I'm having conversations with people who I've wanted to talk to for ages, because I'm giving them a platform to speak, and I have a purpose. I have a project that's actually going to draw them in, right? So same for you, it will be figuring out what your project is that you can draw people in on. And that credibility then gets you more speaking engagements. It gets you more opportunity to work with other companies. It gets you, you know, into the doors of people who are looking for someone to come in and do a consultation with all their vets about mental health, right? So it kind of, it builds like that. But I do think you've already got a pretty clear focus. I think the reason that it's feeling so out of control right now is like the actual problem is you need to earn money. Right. The problem is not you don't know what you want to do with your life. The problem is, all right, let's get the basic needs taken care of and then go into the project space, which you've got all the tools and connections and everything you need for. But first step is, all right, let's figure out what the plan is to make sure you've got reliable income coming in. How does that sound?
Thank you, everyone.
Did I hit the mark on any of that?
Yeah, that was like super helpful. That's probably the most useful thing of this whole 4 weeks, to be honest. Apart from Chiron, who said the same as you. One thing, Caroline, one thing.
Yeah, I think it can be like, as a Blaze genius, it can be really scary to do one thing, because we always want to do a lot of things, but also because our genius space is not in thinking about the numbers. It's about thinking about the people. And when you want to be of service to people, it always feels like, well, how am I going to earn doing that? But the answer is, that is where you pick one thing, right? So it's all well and good to get the advice to pick one thing, but pick one thing doing what? I've got so many different layers of this, right?
The other thing that was really helpful, which I don't know if other people realise, but I'm just beginning to realise, is the whole thing you were saying about my journey. Because the one thing I was saying, I think, to Kyron's been really helpful, and I know, Andy, you think the same. We're really lucky to be in his group, but I didn't realise the my journey thing was almost as important or equal to, you know, because I was like, I'm not a coach. I don't want to be a coach. I can't deal with other people's shit. I can barely deal with mine. Like, I'm not a specialised anything. But it seems like, from what you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that the my journey or the journey thing is the thing people connect with more than I've got this certificate. And certainly in my experience, seeing people with I've got this medical certificate means sweet FA when it comes to actually what they can do.
Right.
So I think I'm finally getting it in week 4.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So much of this, I think, is, someone said this maybe on the call yesterday, or maybe it was about the call I was on. I wish I remembered, but someone said, you know, like, you're always an expert to someone who's 2 steps behind you. So there are people like your younger self, Caroline, like imagine that your younger self had someone teaching her about mental health and teaching her about what it was like in the vet industry and how to best take care of yourself so that you can effectively take care of patients. My God, like that's, you know, like I'm being the person now that I wish I had when I was, you know, 4 years younger, and I didn't have this person. And so now I have the knowledge, I'm going to be that person for others. Right. So that's part of this whole story thing as well, is like, there are always people a few steps behind you that you can help with a leg up just by sharing what you know. And I do think that you have, and okay, so to answer your question about following up and how often should you follow up? First of all, I think you having clarity around like how you're showing up and being of service is going to help. And then as far as actually following up, I just get people on a call, because as a Blaze profile, as a supporter, I know I can win them over once I start talking to them. So for me, like with the WellVet person who's like hosting a conference, I would say, hey, look, I know you're super busy right now. And I know we've kind of been in chat. I just wanted to see if you've got 10 minutes for a quick phone call, just so I can find out like what your biggest needs are right now and how I can help. And then she'll be like, okay. And always making the choice. If you make the choice for someone, will you get on a call or not? Then they're kind of like, they might say no. But if you make the choice, when can you? Then the decision is, okay, when can I? So now they're thinking, when can I, not will I? Same thing, like if I had someone like, you know, Anthony Chadwick or the guy who's managing the podcast. And by the way, I would just get in touch with my sister because she's now helping manage it too. But on the podcast side, I would just say, you know, when can we get on a call in the next week to just touch base about this, you know, and then just get on a call with them. So, and make it time constrained. When can we get on a call in the next week? When can we get on a call this week? Like whatever the time frame seems like reasonable to you, make the decision about the time frame rather than the call itself.
Okay, thank you. That's
but yeah,
really
I keep following up until I get someone on a call, and I'm like, I can get them from there, you know.
So is your sister working with Anthony Chadwick, did you say?
She is, yeah. So she's right now also interviewing for actual vet jobs, but she, as soon as she graduated, reached out to Anthony and was just like, look, I'd love to help you on the content side. And so she's been managing the online community, and now they're getting her more involved with content. I think she writes all their blogs right now and also is now managing their webinars. So yeah, she's in the team and working with them kind of as like an intern right now, but she's doing that on the side of also seeking actual vet work.
So how can I talk to her, Kathleen?
Yeah, I'll give you her email after this. I'll send you an email with her email and also this recording for you. Yeah, for sure.
The other thing that I found...
Oh yeah, one
sorry.
more. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I do want to make sure I come over to Bhavna before we end, because she's the last person to not ask any questions.
No, sorry, Bhavna, carry on.
All right, Bhavna, come over to you, and then if we have a few minutes at the end, I will come back around to Caroline again.
Okay, cool. This is just really quickly. I thought I had...
You're not close enough to your microphone, I think, or if you can yell at your phone.
Okay, is this better? I'm just gonna not be on video. Is this better?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. So, yeah, I thought I was pretty clear on what I was doing, and then I kind of had a chat with Paulina, and was thrown a bit off guard, I guess. and I think it just comes around to like my title. So just for clarity, I was looking at offering project management, like remote services, as a project manager, because that's what I'm trained in. But I guess my avatar is small to medium business owners, and I just want to know if like they would be put off by that title, thinking maybe I cost too much, and should I be starting at like a VA position, but then I feel like that's kind of underselling myself. But is it a good way to kind of get into remote work and then kind of work up to, you know, project management services? So I just, not quite sure. Or is there another title I could use? And the other thing was, when you guys think about project managers, do you think about technology, IT? Like, that's a question I want to know, what you all think, because
Okay, great question. Thanks, Bhavna. So I am going to answer first, just because I know we're limited on time, and usually I would come around to everyone because I'd love to hear everyone's input. But I'm going to tell you something that maybe is not something you've considered, which is that, what about not having a title? And the reason I say that, and the reason I say, oh, is the power gone out? No, I just turned the light off on myself. Okay, great. The reason that I say why not have a title, because it's not actually about the title. Like, people aren't looking and going, oh, I'm looking for a project manager. They're looking and going, man, I really wish someone could just clean up my systems. Man, I really wish there was someone to make sure that all my clients are taken care of. God, I have this, launch that I really want to get going, but I hate detail and I just cannot keep up with it, and my project's going to totally fall apart. So people aren't thinking, I'm looking for a project manager. They're thinking, I'm looking for someone to solve my problem. So what if instead of saying I'm a project manager, you said, I help small business owners to, and then you can elaborate on that. But I think I sent you an email maybe with a rewritten copy on this, but it's like, I help small business owners to run their projects to completion, to ensure, run their systems in their projects to completion, to ensure that they hit their revenue targets, or something, but I would say definitely after this, get in touch with a couple people who are in the Entrepreneur Summer School that you've met or you've seen on calls. And if you're looking for specific people, I can put you in touch with them, but find out what's your biggest challenge when you're running a project? What's your biggest challenge when you're running a launch? And then figure out the wording that's going to speak to that problem. But don't worry about being a project manager or a VA or an EA. None of that actually matters, because it's not your role, especially Bhavna, is going to shift depending on the person you're working with. Like, I know with Paulina, you're doing more like admin and, stuff that you're like, it's a little bit under what I want to be doing. But if you want to be helping people, run a profitable project, then that's like a really easy thing to tell people, and it's going to look different for different businesses. So you can say, I help business owners customize project solutions to ensure that they have profitable launches, or I help business owners clarify their systems so that they don't have to worry about the management of their business and they can get on with what they're good at, right? So these things are things that actually speak to people and their problems. And then you don't need to worry about EA or VA or PM or whatever, because I think when we get into terms, we forget that's a very kind of old model, I'm working for someone, versus when you're a freelancer or a remote worker, you're I'm not just working for someone, I'm working with someone and I'm solving their problem. So focus on how you're solving their problem, what outcomes you're giving to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think it's what I've seen between you and there's another 1 or 2 trader profiles in this group, is you've all focused really you've niched in on what the how you're going to do what you're doing, but you've not actually necessarily addressed what the problem is that you're solving. The other person that did this, I was just looking at her promotion plan before this, it's Susan Ritter, and she is not on this call, unfortunately. I would love to have addressed her plan, but she talks, it's only 7 slides into her promotion plan that I figured out that what she's actually doing is offering investment education to women ages 40 to 70 to help them live the final years of their life in abundance and create abundance for the next generation. Up until then, she was just telling me how she was going to do it. Oh, she's going to run 7 sales calls, but I didn't know what about.
Right.
And so it's the same kind of model, right? If you're worrying about the position title and you're worrying about that kind of level of detail, start with the problem. What's the outcome, for people who are working with you?
Yeah, that's totally right. Because then that will help me determine like the rates and stuff that I charge as well.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
because I guess
and you're going to tailor it for different situations, right? But you can start
Yeah.
with a few fixed rates and then tailor them depending on the conversation you're having with people. But then you'll have more clarity based on the outcomes, I think. Andy, you unmuted quickly. Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I have to go. I've got another webinar at 10 o'clock, but thank you very much. It's been an awesome session.
You are so welcome. I am glad to have helped. I hope that we've got clarity out of this for everyone. I know there's a lot of different things happening. So, Andy, have fun on your session with Chandresh.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. How was that, Bhavna? Good?
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, cool. All right, Caroline, I have a couple extra minutes if you want to go over anything else. Everyone else, I know we're coming up to the hour, so you are welcome to jump off if you would like. And I will see you tomorrow for the presentation sessions, which I'm looking forward to. Please don't not show up just because you don't feel you have anything to present. I can see a couple people on this call who might do that. Show up anyway, and then we'll go through this kind of exercise if you're feeling like super uncertain about stuff. We'll just treat it as a workshop session, right? It's not like you're presenting to the group and we're going to put you on the grill for it. This is a workshop session. We're just going to work on it together. All right.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Bye, people. You're welcome. Caroline, how are you going? You look a bit stressed out.
Yeah, basically I don't have any presentation. I don't even have a promo plan, and I haven't managed to do any of the homework because I'm just finding it all a bit overwhelming. I just wanted to ask you, like, can we send you stuff after the 4 weeks, or is that like forbidden?
I am totally open to it. I want to make sure that all of you are walking away from this with clarity of what you're doing next. So for me, I can only speak for myself. I don't know about the other mentors, but I'm totally happy to keep supporting after the fact. For tomorrow, like, just take some time today to like think about what we've just talked about. And even if you just get clear of one of those two elements, like how you're going to add, like what you're going to offer in terms of adding value in order for you to earn money. So how are you going to earn money, basically, which is just like, and it's just as simple as like, what service are you going to offer? Is it going to be copywriting? Do you want to be spending your time, I don't know, organizing events? Just pick one of those things. And if you can bring that to the call tomorrow or send me an email on your thoughts about it, that's perfect. And then once you've done that, then you can think about, okay, let's think about the speaking topics and, you know, your kind of mission, which is more about supporting vets with their mental health, right? And we can workshop that statement separately. But I think the first thing is, how are you going to earn, and then use that as the framework for this whole toolkit template that you've got, which is like just adding, who can you reach out to who might need that help? You know, like, what's your statement that you're going to say to people about what you do, which is going to be something around copywriting or something like this, right? But just focus on that piece first, and like the big plan and mission and all the other stuff you want to do, that comes later once you've secured your income and sorted that part out, right?
So the mission statement thing, do I just like, because there's so many different things, do I just focus that on the main beginning thing?
Yeah, so for example, with your mission statement, I think I have another call I have to hop off on in a second, but with your mission statement, I would just say like, look, I'm Caroline and I help, maybe you want to talk specifically about people in the vet industry, or it might be like people running events in the vet and medical space. You know, I help them with their content writing for their, you know, for their events or whatever, or I help them with their event organizing to ensure that they've got their speakers together. And then after that, then there's the section on like what you believe and why you do what you do, at which point then you would talk about like, you know, I believe that all vets should have access to like mental health tools and education, you know, in order to like better be able to provide vet services, or enable to have them, for them to be able to have like a successful and fulfilling career in their own full health or something like that. Because then you've got what you're doing right now, which will change like over time. You're going to do copywriting and stuff, and then you're going to build your own business and brand and credibility alongside it. So that will change the first part, but the second part remains the same, which is your mission. And it sounds to me like your mission is around supporting other people to like live lives where they're able to like earn the money doing what they love, in this case vet work, and actually like live a healthy life themselves, so that they're not putting themselves at the expense of their work, right? Which sounds to me like what it is, and you know, we can workshop that and go through that, but I think that sounds like the beginnings of the statement for you. Does that resonate?
And sorry, very quick question. I have to go. I literally have no idea how to, like, I've just worked out how to download your slide template thing.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of something somewhere that shows you A, how to like make that into your own, and B, how do all these people make these blingy images? I just don't know.
Yeah, totally. Let me, I will make you a video tutorial and send it to your email. Can you, what is your email address?
It's cowpat, as in what comes out of a cow's bottom.
Cowpat? Yeah.
Yeah. And then my surname, Murray.
Murray?
Yeah, at yahoo.co.uk. Because I think, like what you're saying, like I can't just read about shit and learn how to do it. I need to like be shown how to do it.
Yeah, I totally get it. I am very much the same way. Yeah. And it does take time, but it's definitely worth doing. But yeah, and I will I'll send you an email with that tutorial and also my sister's email address so you can get in touch with her.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. That was a brilliant session. Thank you. Have a good day.
So welcome. You too.
Whatever
Bye.
it is. Bye. Bye.